Congratulations, you made it to Earth. Whether this is your first time around or you've been here many times before, I am so stoked that you're here. My name is Tanner. Welcome to Earth 101, a podcast about how to be human in the midst of a massive shift in the collective consciousness. We will chat all about life purpose, healing, spirituality, awakening, and a whole lot more that I have yet to think of. Thank you so much for your support. I hope you enjoy. Hello, welcome back. Episode 2 of Earth 101. My name is Tanner. I'm super excited for today. It is a really big topic. Some might say the biggest topic that there is out there. It's a little ambitious to get into so quickly into the podcast, you getting to know me if you don't know me personally. But I think it's a really important topic for me to cover early on so that we're all working from the same groundwork and we're all on the same page. And that question is, why are we here? Why have we chosen to come to this planet? Why are we experiencing the things that we are? And that's a very controversial question. Everyone has their own answer to it. Everyone has their own belief system that guides them in processing that question. And this is mine. It doesn't have to be yours, but but it's important if we're going to continue this relationship here for you to understand where I'm coming from with what I share with you. So we are in a massively important time in human history and the history of this planet. That, every time period is important, and it might sound like I have a bit of an ego thinking that the time we're in is more important than others, and it's not more important, but it is significantly impactful in the trajectory of this planet. And when I say that, I mean we are in the midst of a shift. In my introduction, I say that we're in the midst of a massive shift in the collective consciousness, and that means that we are hitting a checkpoint or a turning point in the evolution of consciousness. So that is like a whole lot that I just threw at you. So I'm going to start with something basic, which is the concept of polarity, because we need to understand that before we understand any other concept in this entire world. So polarity means that there is you and I, there is light and dark, there is good and bad. It is fundamental for existence in general. I believe that the universe started, and when I say started, time doesn't exist outside of the physical realm, which we can talk about a different time. But in the beginning of time, there was just pure consciousness, pure unity. There was not any separation between one thing and another. There was no good, there was no bad, there just was. It was this source. Some people refer to God as source or the Great Spirit. There was just simply a big, you could picture it as a ball of consciousness. And this consciousness, which the universe is made of, embarked on a quest to know itself. And in order to know oneself, there has to be separation. Any plot of any book, there is good and bad, there is conflict that moves the story along so that all of us can learn lessons and so that the characters can evolve. And so in order for anything to happen, in order for any events to happen, in order for any knowledge to be gained, there has to be separation. So this source consciousness separated itself. It went from unity to separation on a quest to know itself. As soon as separation began, everything exploded into creation. There was love and hate. As soon as there are two different things, then all of the emotions, all of experience is made possible. And so it's hard to put into words such an infinite concept, but the basis of existence is polarity. So the evolution of consciousness is where I kind of ground all of my belief system in. I believe that we are all here to evolve the collective consciousness and move from a place of separation to a place of unity. So if you think of a sine wave, everything is a wave. Everything is vibration. We are all made of vibrations. We are all vibrating at different frequencies. And what that is polarity. It is up and down, up and down, up and down. And so when you look at one of the troughs of a wave, it goes from unity to separation to unity. And that is the cycle that this universe is in. It went from unity to separation, and now we're going back to unity. So it was a big explosion, an outward expansion, and an inward contraction. That is breath. That is life and death. Everything is made of cycles. And so the universe took a breath out, expanded into the infinite fabric of existence, and it's taking a breath back in to return to unity. And that process of returning to unity can be broken down into 7 stages. A lot of what I believe, a lot of this knowledge comes from a teaching called the Law of One, which is a channeled message from the 90s. But all of these messages are hidden or not so hidden, are taught directly in all religions. So these 7 stages, 7 is a sacred number. You have seven chakras that are what the spiritual body consists of. You have the 7 directions, which is a fundamental teaching of many indigenous cultures. You have 7 days and 7 nights in Christianity, the creation of the world. You have the 7 colors of the rainbow. You have the 7 upper and lower worlds of existence, which is in Hinduism. All religions, 7 is a sacred number. And 7 can also be a way to describe the densities of consciousness and the path that this collective consciousness is taking as it comes back into unity away from separation. So I want to break down the 7 densities of consciousness. And each of these 7 densities correlate with the 7 chakras in the body. You have the root chakra, the first density, which is being. You have the second chakra, the sacral chakra, which is growth. You have the third chakra, the solar plexus, which is self-awareness. The fourth chakra, the heart, which is love. The fifth chakra, the throat chakra, which is wisdom, the third eye chakra, the sixth chakra, which is unity, and the seventh chakra, the crown chakra, which is oneness. So consciousness has been on a journey of mastering each of these different densities. And when I talk about densities of consciousness, it goes from the path of something that's solid. So think of when you hear people say like that person's dense, it's like there's not a lot of space for knowledge or wisdom or light to pass through. So it's not capable of holding a lot of light. And then the opposite, as you go less and less dense up the chakras, the highest density, well, it's the lowest density. So it's the least dense, the seventh chakra. It is entirely made of light. So it's a transition away from the physical into the spiritual, and the highest chakra, the highest density, which is the least dense, kind of confusing, but allows the most light, the most wisdom to pass through. And so as we evolve in this journey of consciousness, we are evolving a higher capacity to hold light, to hold wisdom, and to hold knowledge. So the first density, which is the root chakra, is the density of being. Consciousness incarnated the very first time as the elements. So earth, fire, water, air. And these are this period of evolution is the longest. So consciousness first incarnated as the fundamental sacred elements in order to learn the lesson of being. So it's like someone going to school. You start with the basics. So first, consciousness learned how to just exist. And then the second density is when animals and plants evolved and were and developed into existence. And the second, which is the sacral chakra, which is all about fertility and growth, is the density of the animals and plants. So the focus of this density is learning how to develop. So once you've mastered the state of just being, then you move on to the next stage of growth and development, learning how to survive and how to pass on your genetics and how to develop. The third density, the solar chakra, which is all about doing and bringing a new light and life force into this planet, is the density of self-awareness. Humans are, once humans developed and evolved, they are the first beings to be self-aware. So what makes humans different than animals is that we have an entire infinite world inside of our minds. We have access to something that animals and plants don't. Doesn't mean we're better than animals and plants, but it means that we have a higher capacity for holding light. And so when you think about how we set ourselves apart from animals, the fundamental difference is that we can imagine things. We can look inside of our brains and see an entire world. We can plan for the future. We can ruminate on things that we've done wrong in the past. We can imagine events happening. So that allows us, that is our form of survival, is being able to imagine things in our brain, imagine a world that doesn't yet exist in the physical realm, and then using that image, bring that into reality. And that is when self-awareness was born. We know that we exist. We know that we are beings here, and we can reflect on what that means and why we're here, which sets us apart from the density below us, which is animals and plants. So where we are right now in the evolution of consciousness is a transition from the third density into the fourth density. The fourth density is the heart chakra, which is the density of love. This is where we start to realize that we actually are not separate beings, but we all come from the same source. And this is where compassion and empathy start to arise. And we shift away from a survival-based consciousness, which is rooted in fear, because you need fear in order to survive and protect yourself. You shift from that third density fear into a fourth density love, and you start living your life out of a love for others, a love for the universe, and a love for yourself. And some humans are in the third density. The focus of this life for them is learning how to survive. It's learning how to create a family and make money so that they can survive in this world. And that's a totally valid life to live. There's no right or wrong place to be in the process of evolution of consciousness. It's not a bad thing to be stuck or to be living in the third density, because some souls, that's just where they are, and they need to learn those lessons before they can move on. Other humans are more based in the fourth density, which is people that are called to a higher purpose, that are living their life for something outside of themselves. Their soul has already learned how to survive. They've already, conquered that challenge. And so the life that they're living now is focused on the next stage, which is contributing to something greater and helping others evolve towards love and to step away from suffering. The reason that this is so huge is because our planet right now is split between these two densities. So like I said, some people are in third density, some people are in fourth density. And as the collective consciousness, as this whole bundle of human souls starts to evolve into the fourth density, then it creates a shift in our collective reality. This is a lot to take in. I want to bring in Jesus into this equation because Jesus is the prime example of a fourth density being. Jesus was a human that lived on this planet, lived in the physical world, but was the complete and full embodiment of love. And Jesus' life marked the beginning of this next stage. Jesus incarnated onto this planet and was a physical representation of the evolution of consciousness. Jesus paved the way and set into motion the transition and let everyone on this planet know what is possible. He created a space for people to awaken and realize that they no longer need to live a fear-based life, that a love-based life is possible. And this is why the story of Jesus has completely changed the world, because it's revolutionary. Up until that point, humans, that concept wasn't in our awareness. We didn't know that it was possible. We didn't know that was an option to end suffering for ourselves and to step into a new age. This is also foretold in the Mayan calendar. So 2013 or 2012, I think, it was prophesized like the end of the world because the Mayan calendar ended. And while some people viewed it as the end of the world, a lot of people believe that that was actually signifying the point that our planet shifted from a majority third density fear-based consciousness into a majority fourth density love-based consciousness. And so it was the end of the world for the third density. It was the beginning of the end of that stage in human consciousness. Moving past the fourth density is the fifth density, which is the throat chakra, or the chakra of wisdom, and the density of wisdom. This is the point in consciousness when we transcend the physical reality. It is, as you think about the transition from a solid to a gas, there comes a point when we transcend our physical bodies and we evolve into beings of light, and we are able to hold more light and more wisdom and no longer have a need to experience dense physical reality. The sixth chakra, the third eye chakra, is the density of unity. So once we transcend the physical body and we are light beings, then there comes a point where consciousness begins to reunite with itself. And all beings in this universe begin to rejoin, to make their way back to the creator or spirit. And then the seventh chakra, the crown chakra, the density of oneness, is a full return to source. So it comes full circle. In the beginning, there was just consciousness. It separates, this big breath out, this big explosion, and then it's on this path to reunite. And the final stage of evolution is a reunification with spirit, where there is no longer separation and we are all one. So the reason that this is happening, a way to kind of conceptualize it, which is, it's impossible to fully understand as humans, our brains are only so big, is this is kind of like a grand experiment. What happens if a being of pure love and unity separates itself and creates the illusion that we are all separate, and all of us forget who we really are, which is love and unity? Do we come back to love and unity, or do we fall into infinite separation? So we all have free will. A loving God is a God that honors free will. If we did not have free will, if we were separate beings and we were forced to do anything, if we were forced to rejoin in love and unity, that would not actually be a loving God, because that would dishonor our free will. Going against free will and forcing another being to do anything is against love and unity. And so it's hard to think about, because there's so much suffering on this planet. Like, why would we choose this? Why would we choose to suffer? But we have chosen this in order to know ourselves. We've chosen to write this book that has conflict and enemies and pain. And so, in the same way that we have chosen this journey to get to know ourselves, we have to choose to come back. We're not forced to do anything in this life. We have to choose love and unity. And so that's the grand experiment. If all of us forget our essence, if all of us are put into this situation where we are in physical reality and we need to survive, and there's pain and evil, do we make the choice to step beyond that and come back to love? And the answer is we do. And that's why this point is so exciting, because we have reached a point where the answer has been established. We do choose love and unity. Our collective consciousness, all of us, are evolving towards love. We could have stayed in fear and separation forever. I mean, we wouldn't, but that we could, and we chose not to. And so when you look around at everything you hear in this planet, the pain and suffering and the corruption and the evil, it's actually a very small percent of the population. We see all these stories in the news that convince us that people are bad and that everyone wants to just live for themselves and inflict pain on everyone around them. But think for a second. Think about everyone in your personal sphere. I can tell you, every single person I know has a desire for love and unity. Sometimes our egos get in the way, our personalities get in the way, and we get triggered and we hurt other people. That's part of it. That's okay. But deep down, every single person I know, if I get the time to understand them and know them, have a deep desire for love. So these people all these stories that we hear, what we hear is all of the evil getting expelled from our world. As we're in the midst of this transition, darkness is freaking out because it knows that its time is coming to an end. So everything's really crazy right now. There's so much happening in this world that is scary, and there's so much fear, and what that is all of the darkness taking its final lap and being as big and loud as it possibly can and screaming, kicking and screaming as it's dragged out of this world. So it's easy to get wrapped up in all of this fear and pain that we see. But I need you, I hope that you can understand that the fear and pain that you see around you, that's not where we're headed. We're not on a path of more pain and more fear. We're actually on a path toward more love and more unity. And all of the pain and fear that you see is amplified because It's trying its best to hold on, to do whatever it can to hold on. But we are in charge. We've already made the choice as a collective that we're ready to move forward toward love. And so it's inevitable that the darkness will vanish as more light is shown throughout the world. This is the message that I want to spread because it is good news. It's the good news. It's the good news that Jesus was spreading. We're on our way. It's happening. And we're all part of it. And it's an incredibly magical thing. So that's that. Thank you for listening once again. Much love, peace, and unity to all of you. And I'll see you next time.